Now at 9, the Parsons, Kansas Police Department releases the city's crime stats from last year. Plus, dozens of big rigs show out at Buffalo Run Casino for their Rigs at the Run event. And a Joplin organization celebrates the city's history and 100 years of operation.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dow Quick. Police in Parsons, Kansas have released their annual crime statistics. The department says the city's overall per capita crime rate climbed slightly last year, but has been trending downward over the past 20 years. The information is part of the city's newly released 2022 annual crime report. Statistics compiled in that report show Parsons saw a slight decline in violent crimes such as homicides, aggravated assaults, and robberies in 2022 compared to 2021. But over the same time period, the report showed a small uptick in property-related offenses, including burglaries, thefts, and vandalism. Parsons police made 804 arrests in 2022. That's a 17% increase over the year before. You can find a link to the complete crime report at KOAMnewsnow.com. 1 woman and 3 children are dead after an hours-long standoff in Verdigris, Oklahoma. Police say there was an armed subject in that home in Verdigris. They say the standoff started around 5 p.m. yesterday and was active for more than 2 hours. According to authorities, this wasn't the first time they've had issues with the armed subject. All 4 people were found dead inside the home from apparent gunshot wounds.
When you're talking about 4 individuals who are dead, 3 children, this is extremely difficult for everybody involved. Everybody that's looking into this trying to help best they can.
Police are not identifying the woman or children at this time. The OSBI is investigating. Seneca, Missouri today has been dealing with flash flooding. The city received 2 to 3 inches of rain. As you can see, it was challenging for drivers to get through some areas. The flash flooding affected low-lying areas and poor drainage spots and streets, among other places in the city. Miami, Oklahoma is hosting the first edition of Route 66 Rigs at the Run. Besides putting together a show with more than 50 trucks in the Buffalo Run Casino parking lot, the event also wants to raise awareness of autism. KOAM's Fernandez Silva has more.
Truck driver for more than 3 years, Logan Lacking wants to make sure his truck's looking good, not only to make people turn their heads when driving by him, but also to his first show.
When I was a kid, I always used to see a semi, I'd be doing this, wanting to honk the horn and everything, so it brings back memories for me, so that's why I'm here, If I can put a smile on a kid's face, and that's all that matters to me.
They take a lot of pride in their trucks, so these trucks are like their house. They spend most of the time more time in the truck than they do at their house. So it's like a house going down the road, and they want it to look good, just like anybody else. It's like mowing your grass almost.
Logan's joined by more than 50 other drivers who brought their trucks to the Buffalo Run Casino parking lot to show off their rigs, but also to bring awareness to autism. The money raised in the event will go to Ottawa County Family Connections Foundation. The nonprofit supports kids with autism and their families.
We want to bring awareness, we want to bring education. A lot of people don't know very much about special needs, and we want to bring in funds for that.
Mom of an 8-year-old kid diagnosed with autism, Lindsay Keith helped starting the foundation. After a year offering support to local families, their goal is to build a center for the foundation with the funds raised in this and other events.
We live in a community that works with a lot of low-income families, and so one of our biggest goals is to bring in donations or funding to bring in these resources so our parents don't have to travel an hour or 2 hours weekly for these therapies that their kids need.
Born and raised in Miami, truck driver Steve Huff wanted to give back to the community by helping organizing Route 66 Rigs at the Run.
It's a great cause. It's a no-brainer to help out kids that need special needs. My daughter has ADD and ADHD, so it hits close to home.
I think truckers get a bad name sometimes, that everybody thinks truckers are bad or something, but you can see the kindness in these guys' hearts for these children in our community that they're going to give back to. So I think it sheds a light on the trucking community, and it shows them these are really good people. They're just like everybody else.
In Miami, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
Food trucks and merchandise sales are also part of that event. Route 66 Rigs at the Run continues tomorrow starting at 8 a.m. Some area first responders engaged in a friendly competition for a good cause. The second annual Vernon County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive kicked off. Vernon County Sheriff's Department, along with Nevada's police and fire departments, competed to see which team got the most blood donations.
The law enforcement and fire department love their community, how much we want to encourage everybody to keep giving and just to support them, because there is a huge shortage of blood, and just everybody to give back to the community.
All donors got a free Battle of the Badges t-shirt. The historic Scottish Rite in Joplin kicked off their two-day centennial celebration today. KOAM's Elise Noe has that story.
It's been 100 years since the Scottish Rite Cathedral in Joplin opened their doors.
We're celebrating 100 years of Scottish Rite Freemasonry being in the city of Joplin, helping kids speech and language issues, making sure that they can grow up so they can hear, talk correctly, just really doing as much as we can for the community for the past 100 years.
Today, the Joplin History Museum and the Joplin Historical Society featured a fashion exhibit for guests. The Flapper-era fashions transported guests back in time when the cathedral was built in 1923. But the Scottish Rite's celebrations do not end here.
Make sure to come by tomorrow, where the cathedral will be hosting a fried chicken banquet, similar to the one that they served 100 years ago. And the best part, a plate is the same price as it was back then, just $2.
Well, the fried chicken was served in 1923, and they had the capacity to cook for 1,000 people during that banquet. We do not have that capacity, so we're going to cook for 300.
Tickets are still available for tomorrow's banquet at noon. The proceeds will go towards supporting the Scottish Rite's next generation.
I mean, in the next 100 years, I would love just to see guys like myself, under the age of 30. I'd love to see an influx of young men, 18 to 30 years old, come in, become a part of something great.
Elise Noe, KOAM News.
The events for today might be over, but the celebrations resume at the cathedral at 9 tomorrow morning. The public is welcome to attend all the events. Special Olympics Kansas is hosting their state games in Pittsburgh for the first time ever, and as is the tradition, the games were kicked off with this torch run. Pittsburgh police officers today ran with the flame of hope from the Law Enforcement Center to Pittsburgh High School. Community members were also invited to join in on that run. The games themselves today kicked off with a powerlifting competition. Athletes were weighed in at the start of the event to sort them into different classes, and they went for gold, lifting as much as they could. After that, awards were handed out.
So excited to have state here. Pittsburgh High School is an incredible facility, and we're really excited to be working with them. There are so many volunteers from the high school that showed up today, which is great because it's the summertime, and we are really excited to have it here.
Competitions continue tomorrow with some flag football games beginning at 9 a.m. in Hutchinson Field by the Community Middle School. After the competitions today, the athletes were invited to the first ever Special Olympics state dance. The dance was luau themed, so everyone was encouraged to wear their best outfit for a Hawaiian getaway. It featured a DJ, a dessert bar, and snow cones from the Jolly Trolley.
So today we had state powerlifting, and then tomorrow we have flag football. So it's a good kind of blow off the stress from the day to come hang out with their friends and come to a luau. We've invited the entire Southeast region, so we're going to have ages, athletes 8 years and up here.
The dance was at the Pritchett Pavilion in Pittsburgh. Coming up, we're going to have some tips to help you get your kids ready for the upcoming school year. Researchers in England suggest inducing labor may lead to better birthing outcomes for low-income, disadvantaged women. According to UK hospital data, inducing labor at 39 weeks in women with low-risk pregnancies led to a small reduction in complications like stillbirths and neonatal deaths. Childhood immunization rates that fell during the COVID pandemic are on the rise, but they haven't yet reached pre-pandemic levels. That's according to data released this week by UNICEF and the World Health Organization. Researchers analyzed immunization data reported by 183 countries for routine vaccinations against 13 diseases. They found that globally, 4 million more children received routine immunizations last year than the year before. Heading back to school can be stressful for everyone, but for parents who are sending a child to school for the first time, that can be a huge transition. While you can't prepare children for everything, health experts say you can set them up for a successful school year by preparing now. Reporter Mandy Gaither has 4 things you can do to help a first-time student.
A new school year with new faces, a new classroom. It can be scary for any student, but especially those who are new to school.
They don't really have an idea in their mind of what this is going to look like. They don't have something to go off of.
Strong for Life licensed therapist Jody Baumstein says preparing children before school starts is critical in easing them into the classroom.
The more we can fill in the blanks in their head, the more at ease they will feel.
Baumstein says to visit the school so the child knows what it looks like. Meet the teacher and administrator so there are familiar faces on day one. Set up play dates before school starts with other families who have first-time students.
They can rely on each other and have some sense of familiarity when they get there so that they don't feel alone and so uneasy.
Finally, practice with school supplies. Baumstein says if your child isn't sure how to use or open something, it can create a layer of anxiety that can be avoided.
It might seem silly and unnecessary, but for kids, it's helpful to know that they're capable and that they can do it without you. And so the more opportunity you can give them a chance to try it in the safety of your home while you're right there if they need help, the more likely they're going to be able to have the confidence to do it on their own.
Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later it's a Southeast Kansas matchup at the Kansas American League Baseball State Tournament. We're going to have the highlights for you in sports.
Well, of course, it turned out to be a cooler day for us today, which is nice. It was such a hot week. We had 1 day above 100 and then 2 days right at 100 degrees. Looks good right now. Here's Indigo Sky Casino and Resort Course. Friday night, parking lot is filling up. And it's a nice night. There's pretty good conditions across the region. Temperatures are fantastic. All right, we got some rain in here earlier today for the month, 1.27. Here's the problem. We're under 10 inches below where we should be. If you take that back a year, we're over 25 inches from where we should be. So we need the rain. So this is why we have the drought. It's dry in our southern counties. Then you hit a moderate drought. But Joplin to Pittsburgh is a severe drought. Then you have extreme drought in the red. And then our far western counties, the worst it can get, an exceptional drought. So we will take whatever rain we can get across the region. Now, last night, northern counties, you didn't get anything. But once you got to Joplin south, we had half an inch up to an inch, upwards to 2 inches. Had some flash flooding near Seneca due to the heavy amounts of rain that we saw earlier this morning. Very comfortable outside. Temperatures sitting into the mid 70s. We can go outside, 7th and Rangeline sitting at 75. Feels like 75. Northerly winds are light at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. And there's not much going on. Pretty calm as we go through the overnight hours. And really the entire Central Plains is looking pretty good. Still watching this big dome of high pressure. It's retreated back to the west, gives us a northwest flow. You can see the arrows out of the northwest, and that's why we have cooled down a bit. But as that high builds back in the next few days, of course, the heat and the humidity will start to return. All right, lower 60s by morning. Let's go to the noon hour, sitting into lower 80s. We'll stop at 5 p.m. Upper 80s. Now watch at the top of the screen. A few isolated thunderstorms trying to pop up. So we're going to put a slight chance in as we go into tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. Starting Sunday, upper 60s. As we get into Sunday afternoon, starting to get a little bit hotter. I think most of us low to mid 90s for afternoon highs. So that heat, that humidity will start to return. 89 tomorrow, 95 Sunday. A little bit warmer tomorrow, isolated thunderstorms tomorrow evening, and then 90s return by the time Sunday rolls around. It gets even hotter, near 100 on Monday. We do have at least slight chances for isolated thunderstorms. And then here's the triple-digit heat once again, just in time for next Tuesday. 89 tomorrow, 95 on Sunday, 99 on Monday. Triple-digit heat really starting next Tuesday. So near 100 degrees. It could be 99, it could be 101 all the way through next weekend. And just hit and miss chances for showers and thunderstorms. Dow?
Doug, thanks. Coming up, an agreement between tech companies and the White House.
Worries over artificial intelligence in Washington and how lawmakers and President Biden can get together. I'm Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill. More on that story coming up.
The Federal Reserve is building a new instant payment system to help people and companies receive their money faster. It's called the Fed Now service. It's designed to make safe, real-time payments more widely available. The system eliminates waiting periods for payments to clear, allowing people or businesses to access paychecks or other payments instantly. It also operates around the clock, 24/7, which would bypass limitations like, say, business hours and bank holidays. Walmart is cutting the price of its online subscription service for some customers who are struggling financially. The nation's largest retailer says it's slashing the price of Walmart Plus memberships in half for those on government assistance. It's through the Walmart Plus Assist program. Price cut applies to those who receive supplementational nutritional assistance program benefits, also known as SNAP. The new costs will be $6.47 per month or $49 per year. A new scam has hit Southwest Missouri. This time it's restaurants getting the calls from scammers. Liam Garrity is in Branson and spoke with people at one business who want you to know what to watch out for.
You take that energy you spend on trying to scam people and steal their money and turn it into positive energy.
Here at Star Bar Grill in Branson, calls from people posing as DoorDash customer support. They wanted to chop into the grill's business.
They wanted us to provide banking information, photo ID, some type of federal document.
He had issues with the DoorDash tablet and got with customer support. But it wasn't support who called back.
You can do something better with your life than other trying to steal from people.
Bedford says he knew right away it was a scam and didn't give them anything. Branson police officers say if you hear a red flag, hang up the phone.
If they're trying to get you to do something very urgent, that's usually your chance that you need to slow down.
Sergeant Caleb Teague with the Branson Police says do your research before giving out any information.
Find a legitimate number for the business or the person that has contacted you. Try to get back in touch with them. No company will be asking you for your bank information or your account information or anything like that.
Bedford wants other restaurants to be careful.
Double check and double check again. Talking to, always double check with your manager or the owner of the store.
DoorDash confirmed it was not anyone from them calling the restaurant. Also, police say if you think it's a scam, even if you didn't lose anything, please do file a report. Up next, how a 90-year-old woman celebrated her birthday in a way she's sure to always remember. It's a lifelong dream that's finally achieved for a woman in Arizona. Marge Berg celebrated her 90th birthday, and it's going to be one she's sure to remember. Marge says she's always wanted to skydive after seeing former President George H.W. Bush skydive on his 90th birthday back in 2014, and as you see, your wish came true. Jumping from a plane, falling at 14,000 feet, taking in all of the beautiful sights of the city of Buckeye, Marge's smile as big as ever through it all. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. The EPA rolls out new standards for lead paint in old homes and schools. Plus, the White House announces an agreement with big tech companies to create artificial intelligence safeguards. Former President Trump's classified documents case will go to trial in Florida next May. Presiding federal judge Eileen Cannon today announced the trial date is set for May 20th of 2024. Trump is accused of mishandling classified material found at his Mar-a-Lago estate last year. He's facing charges on 37 counts, including violations of the Espionage Act, as well as obstruction of justice. The House has passed a Federal Aviation Administration reauthorization bill, the final vote 351 to 69. The bill renews funding at the agency as well as the National Transportation Safety Board for the next 5 years. It includes measures to improve efficacy in operations, expand the workforce, invest in airport infrastructure, and improve passenger experience for air travel. The Senate still has to pass its own version of that bill. The EPA is proposing a new rule that would impose tough standards on lead in paint in older homes and schools. The EPA says roughly 31 million homes nationwide have hazardous paint on their walls. To eliminate the danger, the EPA introduced a groundbreaking proposal to lower its lead dust hazard level to anything greater than 0. Lead-based paint has commonly been used in homes before it was banned by the federal government back in 1978. The exposure has proven to cause developmental delays, learning difficulties, and neurological damage. President Biden hosted the heads of 7 tech companies leading the way in AI technology. All are pledging to do their part to manage the very real risks inherent in artificial intelligence. Fox News senior congressional correspondent Chad Pergram is on Capitol Hill with more on how lawmakers and President Biden can minimize those risks together.
We must be clear-eyed and vigilant about the threats emerging from emerging technologies.
President Biden addressing mounting concerns over the rapid emergence of artificial intelligence as it creeps deeper into our lives each day. 7 tech titans who've promised to police their own companies met with the president. They pledged to bring more transparency and safety to AI technology and content.
These commitments, which the companies will implement immediately, underscore 3 fundamental principles: safety, security, and trust.
The companies at the forefront say they'll take steps like adding watermarks to help identify anything generated by artificial intelligence to prevent deep fakes and misinformation.
I think the steps today give us the opportunity to help ensure that the opportunities from AI keep pace with the risks, even go ahead of the risks.
Ultimately, the administration plans to roll out guidelines for AI, calling it a top priority. But with no timetable set, President Biden is calling on Congress to pass bipartisan legislation. And many Republicans agree they have a role to play.
I want to see an ability to foster AI here in America, but also at the same time protect us from any fears that we may have.
A Senate panel holds a hearing next week with AI experts. They hope to develop a roadmap to regulate AI. On Capitol Hill, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
Researchers from Columbia University and the University of Texas are using AI to learn more about human evolution. They identified key skeletal changes that led primates to walk upright. The new tools also allowed scientists to understand how genes and skeletal features are associated with debilitating conditions like hip, knee, and back arthritis. Study authors say the findings could help those working on better ways prevent or treat those conditions. A bit later, we're going to have some tips to help you make sure your child is safe while playing online games.
Well, of course, it turned out to be a cooler day for us today, which is nice. It was such a hot week. We had 1 day above 100 and then 2 days right at 100 degrees. Looks good right now. Here's Indigo Sky Casino and Resort Course. Friday night parking lot is filling up, and it's a nice night. There's pretty good conditions across the region. Temperatures are fantastic. All right, we got some rain in here earlier today for the month, 1.27. Here's the problem. We're under 10 inches below where we should be. If you take that back a year, we're over 25 inches from where we should be. So we need the rain. So this is why we have the drought. It's dry in our southern counties. Then you hit a moderate drought, but Joplin to Pittsburgh is a severe drought. Then you have extreme drought in the red, and then our far western counties, the worst it can get, an exceptional drought. So we will take whatever rain we can get across the region. Now, last night, northern counties, you didn't get anything. But once you got to Joplin south, we had half an inch up to an inch, upwards of 2 inches, had some flash flooding near Seneca due to the heavy amounts of rain that we saw earlier this morning. Very comfortable outside, temperatures sitting into the mid 70s. We can go outside 7th and Rangeline sitting at 75, feels like 75. Northerly winds are light at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. And there's not much going on, pretty calm as we go through the overnight hours. And really the entire Central Plains is looking pretty good. Still watching this big dome of high pressure. It's retreated back to the west, gives us a northwest flow. You can see the arrows out of the northwest. and that's why we have cooled down a bit. But as that high builds back in the next few days, of course, the heat and the humidity will start to return. All right, lower 60s by morning. Let's go to the noon hour, sitting into lower 80s. We'll stop at 5 p.m., upper 80s. Now watch at the top of the screen. A few isolated thunderstorms trying to pop up. So we're going to put a slight chance in as we go into tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. Starting Sunday, upper 60s. As we get into Sunday afternoon, starting to get a little bit hotter. I think most of us low to mid 90s for afternoon highs. So that heat, that humidity will start to return. 89 tomorrow, 95 Sunday. A little bit warmer tomorrow, isolated thunderstorms tomorrow evening, and then 90s return by the time Sunday rolls around. It gets even hotter, near 100 on Monday. We do have at least slight chances for isolated thunderstorms. And then here's the triple-digit heat once again, just in time for next Tuesday. 89 tomorrow, 95 on Sunday, 99 on Monday. Triple-digit heat really starting next Tuesday, so near 100 degrees. It could be 99, it could be 101, all the way through next weekend. And just hit and miss chances for showers and thunderstorms. Dow?
Doug, thanks. More than 2,000 firefighters working for U.S. federal agencies have deployed to Canada to help battle that country's worst fire season on record. The U.S. crews have been working in rotation since May, including hotshots and smoke jumpers. Those are specialized teams who parachute from aircraft to access some really difficult spots. The National Interagency Fire Center says right now more than 560 U.S. firefighters are helping the Canadians. The historic fires have burned through at least 27 million acres. That's roughly the size of the state of Tennessee. Coming up in sports, the SEC announces their football preseason poll. We're going to see where Arkansas and Missouri are placed. And the Pitt State football team announces a trio of coaching staff promotions. Brock Baldridge is going to break it down for us next in sports.
Kansas American Legion baseball tournament is in the middle of the AAA state tournament. The Pittsburgh Post 64 Patriots and Chanute Post 170 feature players from around southeast Kansas, and both of those teams will face each other tonight. Pittsburgh Post 64 Patriots versus Chanute Post 170. Kansas American State Tournament. We start off in the top of the first inning. Connor Van Beesler rips this ball into the gap. That ball will fall down for a hit. Tucker Atkins will come in and score 1-0 Patriots. Bottom of the first now, 2-1 Pittsburgh. Chanute's Cohen Wheeler skies this ball out to left field. The outfielders miscommunicate out there. That ball's down for a hit. Colby Baker comes in the score. Chanute ties the game off the RBI single, 2-2. So now, top of the second inning, 3-2 Chanute. Quentin Fears blasts this ball deep to left field and bounces off of the base of the wall. 2 runs are going to come in to score. It's a 2-run double for Fears, and the Pittsburgh regains the lead 4-3. We're still in progress in this one, but at the moment, Chanute leads 8-6 in the 4th inning. And it's the final weekend of the Mink League regular season. The Joplin Outlaws continue the road trip to Jefferson City tonight. Now the Outlaws are only 1 win away from playing postseason baseball at Joe Becker Stadium. And tonight, with Joplin facing Jefferson City and against the Renegades, Joplin has won the series opener last night 8-7. A win for Joplin would officially secure the Mink League South Division for the 2nd straight season. But this game seems like we're going to have to wait another night as the Renegades lead the Outlaws 8-5 in the 9th inning. Pittsburgh State football officially opens their season with just under 6 weeks away against Washburn. Now, before the season starts, the football program announces today that they have a trio of coaching staff promotions. Head coach Brian Wright is pleased to announce the new promotions of his program. First off, Lynn Nutt has been elevated to defensive coordinator and linebackers coach. Then former Pitt State Gorilla and graduate assistant Jordan Hendy has been hired as the safeties coach. And then finally, assistant coach Tyrell Everett has been promoted to assistant head coach and defensive run game coordinator. The SEC Media Days are in full swing in Nashville this week, which means members of the media have voted where they think each SEC football team will place this year. And with that being said, the SEC releases their preseason poll. Let's begin things with the SEC East. No surprises here. Two-time defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs were picked to win the SEC East and the SEC outright. Then the Tennessee Volunteers are picked to finish in second place. Then South Carolina in there at third place. Kentucky in there at fourth place. Florida Gators are in at fifth place. And then the Missouri Tigers are picked to finish in sixth place. And finally, the Vanderbilt Commodores are picked to finish in dead last. Then over to the SEC West poll. Once again, it's the Alabama Crimson Tide who are picked to finish in first place in the SEC West. Then the LSU Tigers are picked to finish in second. And then the Texas A&M Aggies are in there at third place. The Ole Miss Rebels are picked to finish in fourth. Then the Hogs, the Arkansas Razorbacks, are picked to finish in fifth place this year. And then the Auburn Tigers and Mississippi State Bulldogs round out the SEC West preseason poll. Well, the Kansas City Royals and the St. Louis Cardinals both begin road trips this weekend. The Royals head to the Big Apple. As for the Cardinals, they go out to the Windy City. Cardinals versus Cubs in Chicago. Cubs scored all of their runs in the third inning, and that's all they needed to do to defeat the Cardinals today. 4-3. The loss snaps the Cardinals' 6-game winning streak. However, Nolan Arenado goes 1 for 5 with a pair of RBIs. Royals at Yankees tonight in the Bronx, as the Royals and Yankees are both in last place in their divisions. You don't say that too often. Royals did lead the Yankees at one point, but New York completes the comeback as they beat Kansas City 5-4 to win Game 1 of the series. And I know, we've been talking about baseball a lot, but let me tell you, football is coming. It's coming fast.
Yes, I know. I'm checking on the Chiefs all the time, and of course the Gorillas and the Lions, and I hardly wait.
Better be ready for it.
You bet. We'll be right back. Summertime means the kids are away from school and sometimes getting into trouble in the real world and in video games. Well, now a major gaming company wants to help keep them safe. Fox's Eamon Dignam has more in this edition of our Fox on Tech series.
Keeping your kids safe online is a priority not just for parents, but every major gaming company as well. And one expert tells us nothing keeps a kid safer than a parent's involvement in gaming. Catherine Jensen is the Vice President of Global Consumer Experience at Sony. She says it's essential to keep those lines of communication open.
From a danger perspective, of course, know who you're talking with. Make sure that they share like interests and similar values and have fun.
Jensen also says there are easy ways to check if you're doing it right online.
You don't have to be on the console to set up controls. You can use the PlayStation app or you can get online. But most importantly, I don't want parents to be intimidated.
One thing to note, some games have their own chat clients that console makers like Sony and Microsoft have no control over. So parents should pay attention to how communication works in the games their kids play. For example, party chats run through Sony can be monitored, but a game like Fortnite has its own in-game system that only the publisher, Epic Games, can monitor.
We work very closely to make sure we have common code of conduct, and we want the internet and gaming to be welcoming for everyone.
The most important thing is to get involved, ask questions, know how the game works, and play along with your kids. Check out this story and more every weekend in the Fox on Tech podcast. In New York, Eamon Dignam, Fox News.
Coming up, we're going to take a look inside the Crayola factory and what all goes into making those colorful art supplies. Maybe you've noticed stores are already rolling out those back-to-school supplies, and no backpack would be complete without a colorful crayon collection from Crayola. Fox Business Network's Lauren Simonetti has an inside look at the Crayola factory in Pennsylvania.
Crayola is a made-in-America company producing crayons here in Pennsylvania for 120 years. This plant is responsible for making 3 billion crayons each and every year. So I know parents are getting the backpacks ready for back-to-school season. This is the Super Bowl for Crayola. They will do 45% of their annual sales for back to school. This is the iconic box of 24. The price has actually stayed the same for 15 years. That's how successful it is. And it's actually the top selling item in all of retail, minus food. Pete Ruggiero is the COO of Crayola, and he joins me now. Congratulations. I mean, to be so successful and to have a product be a top seller for that long. How do you do it?
Yeah, we're proud. We help parents and educators raise creatively alive kids, and we're proud that our products are in the backpack when kids go back to school.
When demand went up like it did during COVID, you were able to meet that demand. How is that?
Our employees are great. Our employees are well trained and skilled, and they're very much aligned with the culture of the company.
And the supply chain?
Supply chain was very challenged, disruption throughout it, and there was a lot of innovative thinking and a lot of creative solutions. When we worked through it and we found our solutions.
Is it true that most of the materials that you use are sourced right here in the U.S., so you have that flexibility to get what you need when you need it to ramp up production?
Yeah, Lauren, this is our Super Bowl, as you said. It's that back to school season. So we ship in a lot, but this time of year it's about this close to market responsiveness. So we're able to draw on our suppliers in the United States that feed into our production, and we're able to meet that demand.
That's awesome. Congratulations. It is an honor to be at a Made in America iconic company that we all know and love from when we were little kids to now that we have little kids. I'm Lauren Simonetti in Easton, Pennsylvania, Fox Business.
The world changes, but those crayons, they just go on and on and on. That is our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of jaguar cubs at the Jacksonville Zoo. Let's make it a great weekend.